Hi, I'm Mick Orr. I'm the Applications Training Specialist here at Chromaline. What I'd like to show you today is how to use super fat film. I'm going to be showing 3 different ways of doing it. The first one is a traditional method known as a squeegee method. But before we get there, let's just talk about some of the things that you do need. The materials, you have to have an exposure unit, and that unit should be a point light source, not fluorescent. You need a washout sink. You need a clean work area. You need scoop coaters, a laminating emulsion, such as this UDC Ace, works very well. You also need a fan or a drying cabinet, and you need a squeegee with a durometer, around 40 to 50 durometer will help, and a build-up board. That's what you need. There's one more thing that's really, really important, however, and that is your photopositive. Your photopositive has to be a high quality. This material is not cheap to work with. Why start with something inferior? Start with a high quality positive, say it's from an inkjet printer, or in this case, this is actually a camera shot. Okay, that's about it for there. So let's get started. I'm gonna start with my build-up board and a nice clean screen, 110. And by the way, it's yellow mesh. Oh, one other thing. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm under yellow light. You have to work under yellow light all the time. Subdued lighting is okay, but yellow's better. So I got a nice clean screen. Now I'm gonna take out my film. I already pre-cut it to the size I need. This film is coated on 2 sides. What you have to do is pull off the polyethylene side. Sometimes that can get a little tricky, but just by peeling on the edges here, it'll pop right up. There we go. Just peel that off. This, just throw it away. It's not needed. Now, with the build-up board, what I like to do is take a piece of newsprint, lay on my build-up board like this. Now remember, I peeled the polyethylene off this piece. Lay it down on my build-up board, like so. Take my screen, put directly on top of it, just like that. Now what's important is that build-up board I have is smaller than the inside dimension of my screen. What that does, it allows the screen to rest directly on top of the film. If it doesn't rest directly, you may get an air pocket or 2. So a nice tight fit's important. Now the messy part. I already pre-mixed this. This is our UDC Ace. I prefer using the Ace because it has good water resistance, and during washout, it helps to have as much water resistance as possible. And try not to cover up the label. Just pour a little bit into the screen. About like that. Set that aside. Come back on. Now I take out my squeegee. Remember, this squeegee is about 40 to 50 durometer. The whole idea is it's just like screen printing. You pour the emulsion into the screen and just draw it down. Now, you may say that's not enough emulsion. If you feel it's not enough, just pick up the emulsion and do it again. Take the real important piece of equipment here, which is a piece of cardboard. Set that aside. Now what I've done is I've actually attached this film right to the screen. Take the newsprint, throw that away. The excess here, you can always cardboard this out and put it back in your bucket if you want, or just throw it away. Okay, so what's happening right now is I have attached this film to the bottom, which is the print side, which is the important side. And I've also encapsulated the mesh on this side. It's going to give me a real durable stencil. Now I take this screen and I put it in a drying cabinet. And the drying is going to take anywhere from an hour to 2, maybe 3 hours. Okay, we're back. Now I'm going to show you another method known as a scoop coater method. It's actually using 2 scoop coaters. Now everyone's got one of these. I'm going to be using the dull edge of the scoop coater. You can use the sharp, but the dull works better. I've already got my screen in place on my coating rack. However, I am going to do a little bit different thing here. I'm going to set this down for a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to turn this around. squeegee side facing you, put it in. And now I'm going to take my scoop coater that already has my UDC Ace in this. Remember, I prefer Ace because it gives better water resistance. And I'm just going to coat this screen. What I like to do is make sure I have enough emulsion, is just look at the other side. And it should be nice and shiny. Not quite enough emulsion on this. I'm going to put one more coat on here. Now let's take a look. Yeah, that's much better. Look how much shinier that is. It really makes a difference. Now, I'm going to put this facing me, and I'm going to take out my Super PHAT 400, and I'm going to pull the polyethylene carrier off. You don't need that. This is going to be attached to the screen using scoop cord. I wonder how on earth are you going to do that? It's easy. You take your scoop cord, hold it with one thumb like this, just like this. Okay? Now, at the bottom of the screen, you're going to just touch it to the screen here. Like this, and then you scoop coat it up. Pretty tough, huh? Look at that. It is absolutely perfect. No air bubbles, nice and smooth. Now you take this and you dry it in the drying cabinet. It's that simple. Okay. Third method, and that method is known as a spray gun method. Again, I got a nice clean screen. I'm working obviously in a washout area. You don't have to work in a washout area with this method, but just so happens that's where I have my air compressor set up. What I'm using is just a regular canister sprayer that you'd use like if you're going to paint a car. I have nothing but water in this. I have the air pressure set about 40 pounds of air pressure. Whole thing here is to put a little bit of water on first on the screen. Oh, by the way, I'm going to do it on the print side of the screen. So I'm just going to put a little bit of water on. I call this a tack coat. Set that aside for a second. Pull out my Super PHAT. Don't forget to pull the polyethylene carrier off. Sometimes it's hard to get at, but here we go. Peel that off, put that aside. Take the film, attach it to the screen, about like so. Smooth it out a little bit. Turn it over. Spray gun. And apply a lot of water on here. You want it nice and wet. Probably hard to see. What's really happening here is the film is actually being pulled into the mesh just a little bit, not like a capillary film that goes in anywhere from 25 to 75% of the screen. This is just going in maybe 10% of the total thickness. I'm working with a 400 micron film, so it's going in about 10% of that, not very much. Then I would take a window squeegee. Squeegee the excess water up. That's what I got. The nice thing about this is it's attached, but it's not done yet. The next step is to put this in the drying cabinet, leave it there for about 10 or 15 minutes at about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. It's that simple. Okay, now you saw how I applied the film using the spray gun method, and here it is, it's nice and applied. Okay, the next step is important, and that is, again, use a coating rack if you got one. You want squeegee side facing you this time. You take your scoop coater, which is full of emulsion, and you just coat the inside. Once or twice. I'll do two. Side. It's now encapsulated. Now what you have to do at this point, again, put it back in the drying cabinet. And by the way, in a drying cabinet, you can dry it squeegee side up, squeegee side down, sideways, whatever you want, because the film is holding it in place in the first place. So it doesn't matter how you dry it, but make sure it's dried in temperatures no more than 110 degrees Fahrenheit and in total darkness, because this is a light sensitive product. Okay, now that all the screens are dry that I just made, all three methods, it all boils down to the same way to expose. You peel the polyester carrier off and you got this film. Remember, the carrier doesn't remove easily, it's not dry. Put it back in your drying cabinet. This one's plenty dry. Now I got my high quality positive and I'm gonna put it on here. When I mean high quality, I mean not vellum. You need something better, something like this. Now I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna just put it on any old way I want here and over to my exposure unit. This is a point light source. Remember, fluorescent lights, they really don't work. You need a point light source. I already set my time. It really depends on how strong your exposure unit is as to what the time should be. You're going to have to run a step test in order to get the proper exposure. I did make a video previously on doing step tests. Just look at that video. It's the same with super fat as with any films or emulsions. So I got this in place, drop it down, turn on my vacuum. Okay, after exposure, you just remove your positive. That's reusable. And as you can see, you can actually see the image in the emulsion. And that's important because that's telling you that a proper exposure has taken place. If you don't see anything, there's a good chance what you're using was a pure photopolymer. Pure photopolymers don't change color after exposure. Dual cures do. And our UDC ACE that I use as laminate emulsion, a dual cure, uses diazo. So it changes the color. So I see this, it means I'm good for the next step. And that is the messy, noisy, wet step in the washout sink. Now we're going to wash this out. Now you must use a high pressure washer. If you're not using a high pressure washer, chances of you making a good stencil isn't going to happen. High pressure is needed. This is my high pressure washer. I'm going to turn it on. It's going to get a little noisy, so I'm just going to wash it out. And by the way, super fat takes a long time to wash out with a high pressure washer. Oh, and some people say, well, why can't I just soak it? Won't do any good. You have to start with high pressure and just go all the way through. Also, almost all the wash is going to be done on this side of the screen. You can rinse from time to time on this side, but it's all on the print side that you work with. So I'm going to turn the pressure washer on and start. Now this pressure washer is about 3,000 pounds of water pressure. You don't want to be too close to the screen, that's too close. You want to be probably about 18 inches away. It's not important to spray all over the screen. You want to do the main area. And once in a while, just turn this side around. Do a little rinse job. Okay. The most important side is the print side. That's what you want to do. And last step, turn it over and do a quick rinse job. That's it. You can actually see the edge there. That's a super fat screen. It's now washed out. Next step, put it in the drying cabinet. When it is totally dry, this milkiness will disappear and it turns back to a normal color. And drying will take place now probably less than a half an hour, and you should be up and running. Just a little recap on the three methods you just watched on how to apply the super fat film. Remember, you've got to remove that polyethylene carrier before you attach it to the screen. You want to work under yellow lights. You want to have a high pressure washer. That's very important. Always, always work in light safe areas. This film is not cheap, but if you do it correctly, you're going to save a lot of time. If you were to use a direct emulsion, it would take you a half a day or longer to make the same stencil I made in just a couple hours. Also, because this is a film, it's much more regular coating thickness than most people can achieve with their scoop coaters. This is the way to go. It's easy, but if you don't follow these directions, you are going to have problems. Thank you. I hope this helps you.